look into the camera when we don't need to look.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you. Welcome to FBC Live. Good morning, Jamie. How are you?
Mate. Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. The sun's shining. I can't complain. How about you?
I know, it is a good day this morning.
Very good.
Lovely day this morning, and really had a good weekend so far. I got to see my parents. I haven't seen them since Christmas. So that's really good. What have you been doing this week, Jamie?
Yeah, so I've been back to work after holiday, so it takes a lot of time to get back into it and sort of re-sort the house and unpacking, I think, most of the week.
Yeah, and washing.
And and all those sorts of things. But it's been really good, and we've seen some friends, and it's been a good week. Thank you very much.
Cool.
So we've been using this poll to interact with you guys, and we would love for you guys to join in with that, and you can answer questions to this poll by either just scanning the QR code on the screen right now, or you can go to fbcnext.com/poll. And it's all about what is making you most mad at the moment. Rachel, is there anything that makes you lose your mind mad?
I'm not feeling mad about anything massively at the moment.
Okay.
But shall I tell you the thing that makes me mad,
Please.
most mad in all the world, is when you're driving along the road and you see people with those leaf blowers and they're blowing the leaves out of their drive.
Okay.
So their house looks and their garden looks nice, but all the leaves are in the road. And then you drive past and they go up in the air and then they go back in again anyway. So what is the point of that? That makes me mad.
Yeah.
Not very seasonal at the moment, though, because no leaves falling off the tree. So maybe that's why I'm so calm at the moment.
Yeah, maybe
it's because there's no leaf blowers around.
No leaf blowers.
Wait till the autumn, then I'll be mad again. How about you?
Not a lot makes me mad, I'd like to think. I mean, some people might disagree. I've been stubbing my toe a lot this week. Oh my gosh, that makes me mad. I don't know, not intentionally, but for some reason I've stubbed my toe a few times. Oh my gosh, you do that little pain dance and jump around, and that does, because it's so stupid. I'm like, why am I kicking things with my foot accidentally? That really makes me mad. So you've got a few options on the poll. So leaf blowers and stubbing your toe.
They're not on there.
Not on there. I don't know how they're not on there. Surely that's right up there. You choose between politicians, bad Wi-Fi, reduced menu at McDonald's. Oh, how reduced though? If McFlurries are still on it, then I'm okay. Not going on a proper holiday. Yeah, that is pretty sad. Let us know in the comments if you had something amazing planned and it's fallen through. Has that happened for you, Rachel? Have you had anything that you were planning to do this summer that hasn't quite come through?
Well, I guess a lot of sort of activities that we might have been doing, athletics events with my daughter, but we hadn't booked a holiday.
Okay.
We have now, but a UK holiday. But I do feel really sorry for people overnight who maybe have got a holiday. Has anyone got a holiday booked in Spain? We should have that on the poll.
Yeah.
Well, but I guess that's under not going on a proper holiday.
Yeah,
Perhaps you're going to Spain this week, or now you're not sure whether to go. Let us know if
maybe
that's
you're
you.
in Spain.
Watching
us. Is
there anybody in Spain right now watching us? Tell us, what are you going to do? Well, enjoy it while you're there, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah, exactly right.
Wow, we've got something that's massive on our poll. Actually, Jamie, do you want to just tell people how to go on the poll if they can use the QR code, can't they?
Yeah, so you can just get the QR code scanner up on your phone and scan the little QR code. It's in the bottom corner of the screen over here. Or you can go onto fbcnext.com/poll, and you can it's real quick just to answer the poll. We'd love to hear from you. What is making you mad at the moment? At the moment, the thing that's winning is overly pessimistic people.
Yeah.
Would you say you're an optimist or a pessimist, Rachel?
I think I'm somewhere in between, but I like being around optimistic people because they make me feel better. So I actually voted for over pessimistic people because actually they just bring you down. And at a time like this, you don't want to be brought down anymore, do you?
I hear you. I think I'm quite annoyingly optimistic.
I think you're very optimistic, Jamie. So I'm having a great time this morning sitting in this room with Jamie.
I know. I believe
fine.
It's terrible as a football fan though, because I think it's coming home. Every time England play, even though we might be doing terribly, I'm always like, this is the one. This is the year we'll take it, and it never really is.
So is today's some important day in football? Is it the last day of the league?
Last day of the football season. So there's a lot to play for at the moment in the Premier League this afternoon. So that might be something that makes you mad, whether your team wins or lose, if they get relegated or get into Europe. Then...
And for some, it depends not on how their team perform, but on somebody else's team performing or not performing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's just, who knows what's going to happen.
It's an emotional thing.
So some people might be really mad by the end of the day, and some people might be super happy by the end of the day. What else is on our poll?
So overly positive people, your family.
Oh, family's gone up. They're making you mad. I guess it is the beginning of the summer holidays.
Yeah.
So parents, how's that going? Well, is it any different to the last 4 months with all being at home and things? Tell us what it's like.
Oh, we'd love to know, yeah. I think, and the next one is the end of the football season. So I suppose that's like, because there won't be football for a month, that might be making people mad. Nothing to watch on TV. Now,
I disagree with that.
There's so much. Maybe you need another subscription service or something.
Well, I've just spent the week watching all the reruns of the Olympics.
Oh, cool.
So it has been fantastic. You can watch Beijing, London and Rio.
Wow.
We've just started Rio. We've been through Beijing. So I feel maybe that's why I'm so happy.
Yeah, because Britain, Rachel is a big athletics fan.
Team GB has just been doing so well.
It's amazing. There's so much. Have you got into any series during lockdown?
We've been watching The Last Dance. All about American baseball. Basketball.
There you go.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, the Michael Jordan one.
The Michael Jordan
one. Oh, my gosh, that was so good.
Yeah, I've been watching that. That's been really cool.
Yeah, I love a sports documentary. It's the best. Okay, and then COVID-19, actually scoring surprisingly low, at only 9.1%. It makes me mad, for sure. And then at the end, Brexit with only 6.1 of the vote.
Yeah, well, what does that tell you about Brexit, eh?
Brexit's only, it's just gone down. It's gone down to 5.9% of the vote. So keep those votes coming in.
If only. Sorry, I shouldn't get political. Let's get back up to politicians. What's the score on politicians? Are they making you mad?
11.8. They're currently in third place for making people mad.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's a pretty tough gig at the moment to be a politician, isn't it? It's not an easy ride.
No.
I'm glad I'm not making big decisions like that, to be honest with you.
Family is jumping up even more, I think.
Oh, they're becoming more annoying, are they?
Yes, I think so. Maybe as the morning goes by.
As you're trying to watch FBC Next and someone's getting in your way and asks, "Where's the milk?"
Maybe it's because it was raining yesterday and everyone was trapped inside.
Oh, man, it really did rain, didn't it? That was crazy.
That was good. I loved it.
Yeah, you like a rainy... Oh, you went for a rainy walk,
We went for a rainy walk. We did get quite wet.
Yeah,
but it was nice.
That's nice. Good. And if it's rainy and you're worried about places being slightly overcrowded in this difficult time...
It wasn't overcrowded on our walk.
That's the time. Go to the beach.
Yeah, that's the best time, isn't it, to go to the beach?
Yeah, totally. The sea won't seem as cold because you're already cold.
Yeah, you might as well just go for a swim.
Go for a nice swim. You can get these vital life tips and hacks every week at FBC Live. You're welcome, guys. It's just us giving our knowledge to you.
Jamie, it's good to see that overly positive people are scoring quite low, because that's you. You're an overly positive person. So
I have been told that, though, that is annoying, and I get it. But I'm glad that you guys don't find it annoying. That's good.
No, I think it's great.
Very good. Oh, your family, family are beating politicians now in the poll. So. And
some people are annoyed about the reduced menu at McDonald's.
Yeah.
3% of people reduced. Have you been to McDonald's?
I haven't been to Mackie D's. No. I mean, I don't know why. I love McDonald's, but yeah, I haven't been. Have you been? No. I know that Rachel hasn't been to McDonald's.
McDonald's isn't my favourite thing, but I haven't been anywhere. No, I haven't eaten out at all yet.
Oh, wow.
So, but maybe we'll when we go on holiday.
Yeah, we had a nice pub lunch last week. Week before last, really nice. Yeah,
sitting outside.
Yeah, sitting outside.
You've got to go and sit outside if you're going.
Yeah. They made you pay for every round. So they're like, you can't open a tab if you sit outside because you might run away. I'm not sure if that was for all tables or just for ours. They took one look at my son who's 2. They're like, no, I don't trust this kid.
Aww.
Oh, yeah, it was good. It was good. Keep voting on this poll, guys. We're going to get going properly in just 2 minutes. If you just come and join the stream, it's so lush to have you with us this morning. Welcome. Get comfy. Grab a cup of tea, a cup of coffee.
It's good to see lots of people joining us. And we've got somebody joining us from Suffolk, Finn Johnston. Lovely to see you, Finn. It's good to have you with us.
Going?
Enjoy.
It's not quite Spain, like we were saying earlier, but it's close, I hear.
Yeah.
Equally beautiful. Is the weather like Spain and Suffolk? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, tell us, Finn.
Oh, good stuff. Where are you watching from this morning? It would be great to hear from you guys. And like I say, do jump on this poll. It would be great to hear what's been grinding your gears at the moment, what's been making you a little bit mad, because that's what we're going to be talking about today, in our latest edition of our series, Search, which I'm really looking forward to today, actually.
Yeah, we've got a special guest who we're going to introduce in a little while. So we've got another person from Suffolk, actually.
Yeah.
Suffolk is taking over FBC at the moment, clearly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm so excited for the message this morning. I think it's going to be great, guys. You've got it all to look forward to this morning. It's going to be so good.
Cool.
Loving it.
Cool.
Right, well, we've only got seconds to go. So in these last few seconds, let us know what's making you mad. Jump on the poll. Hear us out. If it's stubbing your toe like me, that pain is so real. Oh man. I think it's because I've got massive feet, that's why I stub my toes a lot.
It's hard.
You looked at me like you'd never done it before.
I broke my toe.
Oh, yeah.
I walked into a box.
Oh, see,
I should have put it was some boxes that I hadn't put away.
Okay.
And then so that's the lesson. If you don't put away all your mess, you might stub your toe and break your toe.
All right, we got 20 seconds to go. So, like I say, we're just about to get started.
Keep adding to the poll.
Yeah,
through the morning.
To the poll.
Tell us
it's
what's
so
going on.
Awesome to have you with us, and get comfy because we're going to get ready for FBC live for real. That's so good.
Well, good morning. Welcome officially to FBC Live. We're so delighted to have you with us. And welcome from me, Rachel and Jamie.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
It's good to have you with us. And we've been talking this morning already for a few minutes about stuff. We've got a poll going, which you can get involved in. And that's coming up on the screen, what's making you mad at the moment. So you can click on that QR code or you can go to fbcnext.com/poll and you can vote on that. We've been voting already this morning about what's making us mad at the moment. And a massive sort of out there winner at the moment is overly pessimistic people. Because we just don't want to be brought down at a time like this, do we, Jamie?
No, we don't want to be brought down. I think it's slightly ironic though, because I think maybe the British kind of way is a little bit pessimistic anyway. I noticed like when we told some friends that we were going to have a baby, they were like, oh, that's the end. We'll never see you again. It's not like they're like, woo!
No, congratulations.
No, it was just like, oh, it's the end.
Oh dear, that is pessimistic.
So I think we can be pessimistic sometimes, but it can be frustrating, right? It can be super frustrating.
Yeah.
We have such a special guest with us this morning. How's it going, Duncan?
Hey, Rachel and Jamie, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Duncan.
Good to see you, mate. How's things up there with you?
It's a beautiful, beautiful blue sky, sunny start to the day in Suffolk. I guess it won't finish that way, but it is lovely at the moment.
That's so good. Mate, I've got a question for you. What is making you most mad at the moment? Is anything really grinding your gears?
Oh, yeah. I went to the gym for the first time yesterday. And
check you out.
I'll tell you what makes me mad is people who sit on, the kind of leg curl machine. And you want to get on that machine, but they're sitting there scrolling through Instagram or Facebook. And you're just like, please, can I cut in? So that kind of makes me mad. The other thing that makes me mad are roundabouts. When you get to a roundabout and you can see there's nothing coming and you could just carry straight on, but the person in front of you insists on stopping at the roundabout. And it is so annoying, so annoying, especially if they're in a big, fast car.
Oh, yeah. Well, mate, that sounds like two things very close to your heart. I'm glad you could share them with us. Hope that burden feels a bit lighter this morning.
Yeah.
It does. It feels a lot better just to get it off my chest. Thank you.
Yeah, so good, right?
Duncan, some people might not know you. We know you partly as Matt's dad. So Matt, who organises our Sundays, and we're going to see him. He's going to lead us in a song later. So some of us might know you as Matt's dad. But tell us a little bit more about you, Duncan. What do you do in life?
So when I'm not live with FBC, do you know, actually, I'll tell you something for real. When Matt started working with you and we started to check you out online, honestly, my wife thought it was FB Clive, not FBC Live. So for some reason in our household, it's now become FB Clive. Are you watching FB Clive this morning? So if you could introduce Clive to me, that would be great. But yeah, in the normal course of events, I'm the director of an organisation called the Further Faster Network, of which your church, Finch Hampstead, are an integral part of. And the aim of our organisation is to help churches grow by reaching unchurched people. I mean, you know, oftentimes a church will grow because the lot down the road have had a fallout about the colour of the carpets in the back room, or whatever it might be, and that's how your church grows, because 20 of them come up to you, and that's kind of fine. But we want to see churches grow because people who don't normally come to church actually come and enjoy it so much they want to bring their friends and come back week after week. So our aim is to see those kind of churches all around the country.
That's great. Thanks, Duncan. Well, you're going to share with us in just one moment. Are there anything else that we want to say of people joining us?
Loads of people are joining us, and they're getting involved in the comments, saying what makes me mad is single-use plastic. And
of course.
That is
that's a massive thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So please do keep engaging with us throughout the service. It'd be great to hear from you. We've got a wonderful message lined up for you right now. We're going to get stuck into from the man himself, Duncan. It's the next in our search series, finding answers to the most Googled questions. So let's roll.
Oh, hello. Sorry, you caught me Googling. Duncan Banks here. I seem to have been doing a lot of Googling during lockdown because there's so many unanswered questions. It's interesting, isn't it, how a company has become a verb. I mean, we Google stuff, we don't Yahoo anything. Anyway, that's a by the by. Listen, I'd be really interested. What are the kind of things you've been searching for online during the lockdown? Whether you're watching this on demand or whether you're watching this live, stick them in the comments. I'd love to know. Maybe you've been Googling, is my local pub doing deliveries? How do I make a cake with no eggs and no flour? Or maybe it's how do I do trigonometry with the kids because I'm trying to homeschool them? Listen, I know this is all a bit odd, but I'm actually Googling, how do I talk to God when all I want to do is scream at him? Here's something I know about you. We might never have met, but I know this to be true. You want your life to be happy. You want to live the happy life. It's what we all want. You want good things to happen to good people. And if you were God or I was God, that's what would happen all the time. Good mothers would always be healthy. Good kids would never get sick. Faithful spouses would have great marriages. Couples who want kids would have them 3 at a time if necessary. And good dads would never get heart attacks. But here's something else I know about you. At one time or another, you've been disappointed with your lot. You've been disappointed with life and maybe even disappointed with God. Maybe that's how you feel right now in the midst of this COVID pandemic. You're just disappointed. Everything was going so well and then bam, everything changed for you. And now you feel disappointed. I can remember back to my late 20s, early 30s. Life was sweet. I'd got a new job. Me and my wife had moved house to a new area and she got pregnant. But then bam, 6 months into the pregnancy, she's rushed into hospital. And I can remember standing in the doctor's office and the doctor saying to me, Mr. Banks, you've definitely lost your child. And there's a 50-50 chance you might lose your wife as well. And I sat in his office thinking, wow, I'm going to go home from this hospital with no child and no wife, and I'm going to be on my own. Thankfully, God spared Debbie's life, but I lost my first child. And to say I felt disappointed with my lot and disappointed with God was an understatement. And whether you would call yourself a Jesus follower, or whether you're just curious about faith and someone's giving you this link because they wanted you to hear this talk, here's what I know about you. That new car smell wears off pretty quickly, right? And we all get this sense of being disappointed. And when disappointment hits, that's when it starts to raise those ugly questions in our minds, those dark questions. I mean, is God even there? And if you are there, God, why can't you do something about my circumstances? Why don't you step into my hurt and my disappointment? Or are you blind to them all? And when those questions start to raise their ugly heads, that's when we start to get angry with God. So in this talk, I'm going to tell you how you can talk to God when all you want to do is scream at him and bang on his door and raise your fist to him. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to take you to the place I go when I get angry with God. It's called the Book of Psalms, right bang in the middle of the Bible. And I go there because I find a whole bunch of people who are angry like me. It's this collection of 2,500-year-old prayers of God's people. And they teach us how to express our raw emotion to God. And as you read them, you realize there's no polite God talk here. There's no sanitized, dishonest prayers. It's just prayers straight from the heart. That's how God wants to hear us speak. And sometimes that means raising our voices to God. And sometimes that means banging the table in anger to God. And sometimes that might even mean using language to God that you wouldn't use in front of your own granny. There are two types of psalms. Psalms of praise and psalms of lament. Psalms of praise, pretty obvious. Sun is shining, life is good, thank you God. Psalms of lament, you see, the word lament is a Latin word. It means weeping. And as you read these Psalms of lament, you get a picture of these writers who are on their knees shouting at God, sad and angry and disappointed, banging on the doors of heaven, tears out of their eyes, snot falling out of their nose. But they don't seem to be getting anywhere with God. So how are you supposed to talk to God when your life feels like it's been thrown in a ditch? With these Psalms of lament, they show us how. They show us how to love God and hate him both at the same time. So why don't we look at one? Psalm 77 is written by Asaph, a guy just like you and me who finds his life in the ditch, and he finds that God is unresponsive to his prayers. Look what he says. I cry out to God. Yes, I shout. Oh, that God would listen to me. When I was in deep trouble, when I was in the ditch, I searched for the Lord. All night long I prayed with hands lifted towards heaven, but it didn't work. My soul was not comforted. I think of God and I moan, overwhelmed with longing for his help. Asaph doesn't tell us what his pain is or why he's disappointed with God. I mean, maybe it's a financial loss. Maybe it's a marriage breakdown. Maybe it's a betrayal of a friend or a spouse. All we know is that he's crushed. You don't let me sleep. Has your disappointment kept you up all night? I'm too distressed even to pray. Have you got so emotional that you can't even get your words out? Hey, time out, time out, time out. We need to hit the pause button for a moment because there's something we need to deal with here. What's that phrase that well-meaning Christians often say to people whose life's been thrown in the ditch? You know the phrase, just pray about it. And the reason I love these Psalms of lament is that they unmask this glib advice that's often given to people. Oh, just pray about it. You've been diagnosed with cancer. Just pray about it. Oh, you've been left in a wheelchair because of a bad car accident. Just pray about it. You failed your exams. Just pray about it. Your spouse has been unfaithful to you. Just pray about it. Listen, I'm sure you're not expecting me to say what I'm just about to say. And maybe it'll offend you, so much so that you might be reaching for your keyboard so you can email me your disgust. And you know, that's fine. You can get me at chris@finchhampstead.com. But listen, here's what I want to say. Prayer is not the first thing you should do when you're disappointed with God. Prayer is not the first thing you should do when life throws you in a ditch. Prayer is not the first thing you should do when you're disappointed with your life. I'm not saying prayer is a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a wrong or a damaging thing. It's just not the first thing. I mean, Asaph in this psalm, he starts to pray, but he don't feel like God is listening. It's getting him nowhere. It's just a wall of silence, and he doesn't feel comforted by what he does. So it leads him to ask these haunting questions about God, dark questions, questions that you can't even believe have made it into the pages of the Bible. Has the Lord rejected me forever? Will he never again be kind to me? Is his unfailing love gone forever? Look, have his promises permanently failed? I mean, I thought gods were supposed to keep their promises. Is God not a promise keeper? Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he got some kind of spiritual Alzheimer's where I thought God was supposed to be kind and gracious. Has he just forgotten how to do it? Has he slammed the door in his compassion? Is he angry with me? Is it something I've done? These are the kind of questions that people who are disappointed with God and angry with God often ask. So if you've ever asked these questions, I want you to know you're in great company. You're not the only one who's had these dark thoughts and asked these dark questions about God. Not long after his wife died of cancer, C.S. Lewis wrote this in his journal. Meanwhile, he writes, where is God? This is one of the most disquieting symptoms. When you're happy, so happy that you have no sense of needing him, so happy that you are tempted to feel his claims upon you as a mere interruption. If you remember yourself and turn to him with gratitude and praise, you will be, or so it feels, welcomed with open arms. But go to him when your need is desperate, when all other help is vain, and what do you find? A door slammed in your face, and the sound of bolting and double bolting on the inside. After that, silence. You may as well turn away. The longer you wait, the more emphatic the silence will become. It's the question you've asked, right? It's the question C.S. Lewis asks. It's the question Asaph asks. Why is God silent? And the answer? I don't know. Honestly, it's a mystery to me. I don't know why God stays silent. I don't know why God sometimes stays silent when we need him most. I don't know why some people seem endlessly unemployed and unemployable. I don't know why some 6-year-olds get leukemia. I don't know why some babies get HIV from their mother's milk. I don't know why some teenagers get coronavirus. I don't know why some sons who should have been safe in that place aren't. I don't know why you had the parents you had. Honestly, I don't know why God stays silent in our pain. It's a mystery to me. So what does Asaph tell us about dealing with a silent God and our broken lives? I mean, if prayer isn't the first thing we should do, then what is the first thing we should do before we pray? Look what he says. Once again, I'll go over what God has done. Lay out on the table the ancient wonders. I'll ponder all the things you've accomplished and give a long, loving look at your acts. Hey, what's he doing here? Because he's not praying. He's focusing in on who God is. Maybe that's what you and I should do. Rather than focusing on our hurt and our pain and our distress, maybe we should focus on who God is. That's what Asaph does. Instead of focusing on himself and his pain, he focuses on who God is. He focuses on a God who is greater than all of that. And he starts remembering a God who has stepped in the past in amazing ways. Then in the next few verses, he remembers a time in the history of God's people where it felt like God was silent and was doing nothing. If you've ever seen that Walt Disney film, The Prince of Egypt, you'll know this story. You know the part where God stands the water up in walls and his people, about 1 million of them, they walk over on dry land and they're safe. And it's at that point where their journey to the promised land really begins. This land flowing with milk and honey that God had promised his people. And so they set off on a journey that should actually have taken them just over a month. Ends up taking them 40 years. 40 years! I mean, how on earth do you take 40 years to do a journey that should only take you just over a month? Well, they kept disobeying God. And so God kept saying, go on, round you go, do another lap. But eventually they arrive at the promised land. But there's a problem. It was called the River Jordan. You see, the River Jordan was at flood stage. It was harvest time. I mean, if they'd have come any other time of year, they could have wandered over there just wearing their flip-flops and it would have been fine. But now, it was a raging torrent. And you can imagine some pretty raw, unedited prayers going on at that moment. God, why have you brought us here? What do you think you're playing at? Don't you care about our circumstances? We are never going to make it over there. You promised so much, and then you leave us here. You can imagine what they were saying. Old folks hanging on to each other saying, this is it, darling. We're never going to make it to the promised land. You can imagine mums with babies in their arms and young kids standing next to them thinking, we're doomed. We can't make it over there. You can imagine people with some kind of disability thinking it's amazing we've got this far. How on earth do you expect us, God, to get over there? Some pretty raw, angry prayers to God. What would you have said if you'd have been in their circumstance? Joshua records the moment. Look what he says. It was the harvest season and the Jordan was overflowing its banks. But as soon as the feet of the priests who were carrying the ark, which was the place where God lived, as soon as their feet touched the water at the river's edge, look what happened. The water above that point began backing up a great distance away at a town called Adam. This town called Adam was 19 miles away upstream from where they crossed the Jordan. It was a miracle, but nobody could see it. So where is God when he seems silent and you can't see him? Well, he's at work. He's just at work upstream in ways that you can't see. I mean, honestly, go read Psalm 77 for yourself. And maybe as you read Asaph's story, you'll find your story right in the midst of it. Because he's just a guy who was disappointed with life and disappointed with his lot and angry with God. But when he started to take himself out of his prayers and focus on who God is and his miracles, well, then his perspective totally changed. Look what he says in verse 13. Oh God, your way is holy. No God is great like God. You're the God who makes things happen. You showed everyone what you can do. You pulled your people out of the worst kind of trouble. In every one of these Psalms of lament, there comes a moment after all the grief and the pain and the hurt and the disappointment and the anger with God gets poured out, where the writer makes a vow of faith. Now, even though I can't see you at work in my life right now, God, I choose to put my faith in you. I choose to believe that you are at work upstream in ways that I can't see. I want to give you the chance to do the same, to put your faith in God. Because I think God's got some why questions that he wants to ask you in the midst of your disappointment and your pain and your hurt right now. Take a listen to this.
Why are you striving these days? And why are you trying to earn grace? Why are you crying? Let me lift up your faith. Just don't turn away. And why are you looking for love? And why are you searching as if I'm not enough? Oh, to where will you go, child? Tell me, where will you run? To where will you run? 'Cause I'll be by your side wherever you fall in the dead of night. Wherever you call in, please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you. Look at these hands at my side. They swallowed the grave on that night when I drank the world's sin so I could carry you in and give you life. I wanna give you life, and I'll be by your side wherever you fall in the dead of night. Wherever you call in, please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, oh, my hands are holding here at my side. Wherever you fall in the dead of night, wherever you call in, please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, oh, my hands are holding you. Yes, I love you. I want you to know that I love you, and I'll never let you go. No, no, and I'll be by your side wherever you fall in the dead of night, wherever you call in. Please don't fight these hands that are holding you. Oh, my hands are holding you.
Hey, you want to take a walk with me and we can just talk to God? So, Father in heaven, here's the deal. I'm pretty angry with you right now. I'm angry with my lot. I'm not happy with the way I feel I've been treated. Life hasn't worked out how I expected it to. It stinks right now. And if I'm honest, it's hard to believe that you really are holding me. It's hard to believe that you're by my side. But if ever I needed to hear that message, it's right now. So somehow, Lord, I'm going to trust that you're at work upstream in ways that I cannot see. And so in the best way that I know how, I want to give my life to you. I want you to be my friend. Come in and be my friend, because I feel so lonely. Come in and be my saviour, because I really can't save myself. Come in and bring me hope, because actually, Lord, right now, I feel pretty hopeless. I don't really know what it means to be a follower of you, but I sure want to give it a go. So help me, I pray, in the beautiful and the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Well, that was just brilliant talk. Thank you so much for Duncan for giving us that. And we're going to be chatting a little bit later with Duncan, and we've got question and answer time. If there's anything that resonated with you, drop it down in the chat and we'll chat to Duncan about that. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask Duncan, then put those in the chat as well, and we'll ask those to Duncan in a few minutes. If you prayed that prayer, if you'd like to continue your journey, then we would really say to you, do keep talking to us. The best way to do that is to go to fbcnext.com/my-next-step. There's tons of resources to help you, but there's also an opportunity in that place for you to connect with us, and you can give us your details and someone will get back in touch with you. So we'd love to start having a conversation with you about journeying with Jesus.
That's all we have for the first part of FBC Live. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. In a minute, we're just going to do a bit of a Q&A with the man himself, Duncan Banks, who brought us that message this morning. So if you want to stick around and hear us discuss the talk and different questions with him, then feel free to stay. And like Rachel was saying, chuck some questions and comments in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Should we see if we can get Duncan on the line? Dial in.
Yeah,
Duncan, are you there?
I am. I'm just trying to listen and talk to you as well as reply to some of the comments in the chat. So my phone is lit up. It's great.
That's great stuff. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that talk this morning, mate. What a blessing. That was great. Have you got, Rachel, you look like you're avidly reading now.
I haven't. My age, Jamie, I struggle to read things that are far, far away. Duncan, tell us a little bit more and share a little bit more and just remind us of some of the key points of what you just said.
There is a time where all of us are mad with God. You know, not just mad with God, but mad at life. And it almost feels like we shouldn't raise our voice at him. You know, it feels like we shouldn't get angry with him. But when you read these Psalms of lament, these Psalms of weeping, you realize you're in good company, because there are people from thousands of years ago who got angry with God, raised fists with God. I mean, said things about God, that you and I would find quite shocking. So I think what I was trying to say in the talk was really prayer is not the first thing we should do when life gets difficult. We should just pause and remember who God is. Take a moment to think about God, rather than prayers becoming about me. I don't know about you, but when I want to pray because something's going wrong, it's all about me. God, help me. I'm angry. I'm this. I'm that. Do this for me. And I think Asaph teaches us that maybe if we stop doing that and start looking at God and reminding ourselves about a God who is greater than all my issues and greater than all my problems, then somehow perspective changes, like Asaph's perspective changed.
And it was really helpful to hear you share that really personal story about when Debbie was in such danger. That probably touched many people watching it. Certainly me as a mum, that touched me. And for you you were expecting to be a dad at that point, and that must have been such a traumatic event. Have you found that over the years you've been able to kind of use that same sort of philosophy over the years to, when you've had other disappointments? Have you always felt that you could turn to God, or have you had experiences where you've sort of tried other things first and haven't worked? And
I couldn't talk to God. That when I stood in the doctor's surgery and he said, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to lose your wife. And it was a little baby girl that we lost, who was when Debbie was 6 months pregnant. And I remember, afterwards, just feeling so alone and feeling so desperate. I was glad of the people around me who were supporting me. But I couldn't talk to God. I was just angry with him. So all I could do was lean into who he was, remind myself, like Matt's song said, that he is by my side, that he is with me. He never promised life would be easy. He never promised life would be perfect. He promised that he would be with me. So I just kept leaning into that, but I couldn't talk to him for a long time afterwards.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, that's great. So we've got a few questions to go through, Duncan. I hope that's all right. And we're going to open up for people to ask questions in the chat. There's loads of people saying it was a super helpful talk. So thank you for that. So I suppose for me, I was thinking about is there anything that helps you remember who God is? So I know some people love a bit of nature and go out for a walk, and that greatness will remind. Is there anything, Duncan, that you go to which just puts you back in that right place of perspective with God? Could be music, or like I say, going for a walk, or there's lots of different pathways. Is there anything that you find kind of readjust that balance well for you?
Yeah, Jamie, there's I've often described it like this. You must have been, I mean, I know we can't do it now, but you must have been to a big football match or a big sporting event or a concert or something. Yeah. And there are loads of turnstiles. There are loads of ways into the ground. You can go in the home end, the away end, you go in the posh seats on this side or that side. There's loads of ways in, but once you're in, everybody's watching the same game, just from a different perspective. And I think it's the same with God. For all of us, we're wired differently. And so for some people, and I think I'm like this, if I want to connect with God, I need to do it through other people. So I'd give you, Jamie, or you, Rachel, a call and say, look, life stinks right now. Can you help me make sense of it? I just need to pour my rubbish out on you. Is that okay? So I just call trusted friends. But like you say, some people go for a wander in the countryside or a wander by the beach. And for some people, and this is true for me as well, some places, some physical locations feel more spiritual than others. I think it was, Iona in the top of the north of Scotland. When the Celts first came there, they described it as a thin place. In other words, the gap between earth and heaven, between man and God, was really thin. I mean, other places, it feels thick. It feels God's a million miles away, because life is busy and life is crazy and everything is distracting. But when you're on Iona, it feels like it's a thin place. And so maybe for you and those that are listening, and watching, maybe there's some thin places. It could be a local coffee shop. It could be where you're sitting right now in the FBC Centre, the coffee shop there. It just could be a location that makes you feel like you can breathe and God is here. And you're right. There are times, for me, when it doesn't necessarily need to be Christian music, but there are times when I turn music up really loud and it somehow does my soul good. It expresses something in me that I can't express myself. I let some other artist sing it for me, and maybe tears roll down my cheeks, or I get angry, or I smile. I can't do it myself. I'm not in a great place to do it myself, but the music does it for me. So sometimes leaning into music is great, but we have to take that first step. We have to turn off YouTube, or turn off the TV, or switch off all the other distractions and put a CD on, or go to that thin place where we might find God. It's up to us.
I think that's a really good question for all of us to ask, isn't it? If you feel like Asaph right now, if you don't feel that you can pray, what are the things that you could do to focus on who God is? Yeah,
and we'd love to hear in the comments, who knows, the way that you do that might inspire someone else to go and give it a try. I mean, I really resonate with what you said, Duncan. For me, music is a huge deal, and I thank God for music. And it could be worship music, could be anything that I find is just truly beautiful and can realign my perspective. And for sure, people, if I'm feeling discouraged, or perhaps, in our poll, pessimism scored highly about things that make you mad. Sometimes perhaps I get in a pessimistic place with faith if things aren't going all as I would like them to, and I get a little bit focused on myself and perhaps a bit pessimistic, even though I'm a super optimistic guy. That can happen. I find that going and just getting encouragement from people who I see as kind of heroes of faith, people who I really respect their walk with God, who I know are going to build me up and tell me amazing stories of what God is doing in places, and help me see the bigger picture, is such a huge blessing, and really helps with that perspective. So I resonate with that, Duncan. That's how it plays out for me. Have we got any questions?
It's very true, Jamie. I'm being mentored by people who've been dead for hundreds of years. I am. So again, I can't express myself, but sometimes when I read C.S. Lewis, as I know he hasn't been dead hundreds of years. He's been dead since the 1950s, I think he died, or 1960s. I read a quote from him in my talk after his wife died of cancer, and it just resonates for me. It just feels like truth for me, and it lifts something in my spirit. So go back to not just to the Bible, to ancient writers, or writers who just resonate with you, and just it feels like when you read what they say, there's something like, yeah, that's real. I can't seem to say it myself, but through them, that's exactly how I feel.
That's great.
We've had a question in from Jim saying, what role do you think the church and other Christians should play in those barren times?
So to support someone who's going through a barren time? Yeah, so if you know someone who's perhaps going through something really difficult, what could the church or other Christian friends do to support?
Do you know what? I think the onus isn't on the church. I think the onus is on you and me, because here's what happens. Life kicks me in a ditch, and instead of coming here where you two are, where Christian community is, my first reaction is to run. My first reaction is to get as far away as I possibly can. And we do that. We walk away from church. We walk away from Christian community. And then we sit there after a few months and say, no one's called me. No one's been round. Hey, it's our responsibility, because I've never met a church. If tell me, FBC is the same. If someone calls you, Jamie, and says, I feel so bad at the moment, life's really treating me rough, you're not going to say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. You've set up small groups, connect groups in the community. There is so many ways people can connect. The onus isn't on the church. The onus is on me as an individual, not to run away when life gets hard, but to run towards, because that's where I'll find my help, and that's where I'll find my sustenance. But it's we just run. Oh, life's terrible. I'm leaving. I'm going. I'm not going back to that place. No, run towards it, because that's where you're going to find your strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. That's great, Duncan. Yeah. Thank you.
I've got an amazing Connect group that I can connect with, and we've got a WhatsApp group, and we share prayer things. Wonderful. And so if life's getting tough, I can just put a message on and just say, please pray for me.
That's great.
And I think that sometimes when you're going through a really difficult time and you keep going, you just feel so emotionally wrecked that you just feel like you've got no energy left to kind of go to God. And it's so good to be able to say to God, I'm just going to think about you and trust you, and maybe, you've been there for me before, so I'm going to just trust you, but I'm going to just quit I haven't got the energy. And I always say that to people. If you're going through a tough time, you haven't got the energy to kind of just keep going to God. But other people can do that on your behalf while you get yourself in a good place with God. And that's why it's so important to have people around you. And that's the importance of, we call it intercessory prayer. But it just means praying for somebody else. That just takes the pressure off you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, I think this is this talk and this topic is such a good thing to share with friends maybe who are not part of church community at the moment, or are on that kind of journey, maybe thinking about it. What's all this got to do? And we're traveling through something really difficult at the moment as a culture and community. It's really hard. And this is such a poignant and important question. Please feel free to share this talk with people that you know that might need it this week, because this is a really honest and open look. It's not an easy answer. It's not just a simple fix. It's just this is how it is. And I think this could really bless someone that you know. So if you could share it, you could just share the link and to YouTube, and that would be really cool. I think who knows who might need this this week. It should be really good.
Yeah, cool. Got another question to kind of ponder while you're sitting at home, and we'll ask you, Duncan, as well. How would your life be different if you knew God was by your side and his hands were holding you right now? That's a biggie question, isn't it?
That's a huge question, yeah.
Duncan, what do you think about that?
That was the line from Matt's song, wasn't it? He's by your side, his hands are holding you. Here's the deal. I think we forget, as Christians, that everything is spiritual. We compartmentalize God. So if I go to a football match, that's not a spiritual thing. If I sit with you, Rachel, and you, Jamie, and have pizza or go to McDonald's, that's not a spiritual thing. Whereas if we pray, or if we read the Bible, or if we sing worship songs, that's being spiritual. But if you were to go to Jesus and you were to say to Jesus, hey, Jesus, how's your spiritual life? He would look at you confused, because there is no word for spiritual in the Greek language, because everything is spiritual. The way you answer a telephone, the way you cuddle your wife, the way you change a nappy, the way you set your schedule for the day, the way you make a cup of coffee, the box sets you choose on Netflix, everything is spiritual. So if we think that way, then we can find God in everything. So you can be out gardening and you can find God in that, and not think, here's what used to happen. When I was part of a connect group in the church I was in recently, we often, once a month, we would have fish and chips. We'd sit around my dining room table, 12 or 13 of us, and we'd eat fish and chips. And every time at the end of the hour together where we ate and we chatted about life and friends and work and laughed and told stories together, at the end of that, somebody would always say, come on, then we need to do something spiritual now. And I used to stop and say, no. God hasn't been absent in the last hour while we've talked about football and life and work and food. God was right there. Why can't we see him in the midst of that? And so here's my challenge for this week. If you feel that God is absent, see him in everything. Realize he is in every conversation, every Zoom call, every interaction you have. Everything is spiritual. And so if we found God in everything, we'd realize he wasn't just by our side when we were tuning into FB Clive on a Sunday morning, but he was by our side always, 24/7. And I think then things change. Our perspective of God changes.
That's a real challenge, isn't it? But a really good thing that we could all do practically this week is actually maybe at the end of the day, look back at our day and think, where did we see God was there? Or, if you're going out for a walk, or, going to Tesco's with your face mask on, God is there. We've just got to see him. And we have an opportunity to kind of be God to other people, can't we? Just by the way we are, not being one of those pessimistic people, being an optimistic person.
Absolutely. I think that's such an exciting and adventurous way to do life. And a really great encouragement there, Duncan, just to kind of open up our lives and broaden our perspective on what spiritual and of course everything is. That's a really great encouragement. I really appreciate that. Very good.
Yeah.
I was staying in the days when we used to be able to get on trains, Jamie. Remember the days when we used to be allowed to get on the train? So 6 months or so ago, I was in Liverpool Street in London and I was waiting for my train. And just, 15, 20 yards away, I noticed an older woman rummaging around in her purse. and something fluttered out of her purse. She couldn't see it. I saw it. It was a £20 note, and it landed on the floor. And this black guy with a hoodie and a backpack, shades, earphones, he bent down to pick it up, and he picked it up, tapped her on the shoulder and said, "I think you've dropped this." And she looked up a little bit scared, and she looked up and she went, "Oh, thank you so much." And honestly, for me, that was Jesus right in the midst of Liverpool Street Station. That kind of kindness and generosity and humility was just huge for me. And so why don't we see God in all of those moments rather than just see them as human moments, see them as God moments, and then we realize God is by our side even while we're waiting for a train at Liverpool Street Station.
That's fantastic.
That is great. Thank you so much, Duncan. I think that might be just about all we have time for. Unless you have any more questions, Rachel.
No, I just think just encourage everybody to, as you say, share what we've heard today with your friends. And just practice that during the week. And if there's anything you'd like to communicate with us, then use that opportunity on fbcnext.com and /my next step. Take a next step this week and get involved and just be proactive in looking for God. We just want to say thank you to Duncan. It's been fantastic. Thanks for what you prepared and what you've shared live this morning. It's been brilliant.
Great.
So honestly, this liturgical dance.
Say again, mate, we missed half of that.
There's no time for me to do my liturgical dance because I've prepared that.
Oh, there is always time. I mean, it'd be great to see where Matt gets all his talent from.
That's okay. I'd need to go and put my leotard on. Is that all right?
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay. Well, while you go and put your leotard on, we'll just say goodbye to everybody. And thank you so much for tuning in to FB Clyde.
Oh dear.
Let's get it to still. Thank you so much.
Have a great day, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.